Hello again, Chris Lee of Southeastern 16, joined by Blake Lovell and Max Barr. We are here to predict the outcome when Kentucky goes to Starkville to the Humphrey Coliseum on Saturday. Weather willing, you can catch that on the SEC Network at 7:30 Central. We don't have a line as we're doing this. I'm going to guess Mississippi State will probably be a slight favorite. Let's see, Ken Pomeroy has got it 84-79 in favor of Mississippi State. Sounds about right. Maybe a few more points than I would have expected. But Kentucky does score a lot of points, as we know. State's a little bit of an underrated offensive team. Max Barr, we'll start with you. What catches your eye in this matchup?
Pack the hump. Eli's probably watching this. Carlo's probably watching this. They know how big of a game this is for the Bulldogs. Yeah, this is an awesome matchup. This is two of the best offenses in the league, and that's saying something with how good the league's offense is. Kentucky, number 1 in the nation in preventing turnovers. Mississippi State, 14th in the nation in preventing turnovers. We should have a pretty fun offensive game here. The main storyline, guys, that is jumping right at to me. That's what everyone's been talking about is Kentucky's dealing with physical teams. Hey, there is maybe only a handful of teams in the nation that are playing more physical than Mississippi State right now. That one jumps right off to me right away, guys.
Yep, big bounce back spot for the Cats after losing at Georgia on Tuesday. Then they're going to turn around and get back-to-back home games next week. Meanwhile, for Mississippi State, an important game too, because 3 of their next 4 after this are going to be on the road. 2 of those at Auburn, at Tennessee. So a significant game here for both teams, and it's a fun matchup. We remember how exciting the game was they played last year in Starkville, one of the best games of the SEC season probably. And now you've got an interesting setup here. Mississippi State trending up in terms of what they've accomplished at this point. Offensive juggernaut, getting closer and closer to that top 20 offense. Kentucky still top 10 offense. And, this should be a clean offensive game, maybe a little bit, depending on whether the Cats can take care of the ball against that Chris Jans Mississippi State defense.
Well, probably the strength of Kentucky's team. There's a few, like Lamont Butler at point guard is just a steady influence. He's good with the ball. He's made a lot of plays. He's been big for them when they have won games. But I think the other thing, the 3-point percentage isn't great. I think Kentucky's in the 80s nationally on Ken Pom, but it's been spotty. Kobe Brea was not well last game in Athens, went 2 for 9 on threes, but like the Florida game, I think he was our player for the day on Saturday because he hit a high percentage and was a big part of them beating Florida. They can hit him from a lot of places, including Andrew Carr and guys like that. I think that's the thing that I'm watching is like, how well does Kentucky shoot the 3? Because if they're spreading out and having 4 or 5 guys make shots, then I think their chance at pulling the upset goes up considerably.
Yeah, Kentucky on the road so far, 0-2 in true road games this year. Dropped the early December game at Clemson, only scored 66 in that matchup, and then just on Tuesday, scoring only 69 at Stegman. Have not eclipsed 70 points yet in the 2 true road games against two top 40 teams with physical defenses. And another step up here, I would confidently say Mississippi State is a level above both Clemson and Georgia right now. So if you want to look at it at an angle of, how have they played on the road? Well, you can also look at the Seattle game where they battle and they beat Gonzaga without Lamont. So you can kind of try to pick apart the schedule any way you want. I don't have a too big of an angle, but what I will say is Kentucky is going to have to eclipse 70 points if they want to win this game, and that's something they have not done yet in those 2 true road games.
Yeah, I agree with you. I mean, I think it's one where, for Kentucky, like the name of the game is pretty simple. We said it a minute ago, it's you got to take care of the ball, but I think another thing too is I keep saying it, like I think it's just embracing the physicality because we were talking about yes, like there were a lot of frustrated Kentucky fans after the Georgia game the other night, in terms of, hey, you think this should be a foul or that kind of thing. But like, as we've seen, that wasn't just focused on that one game. Like that's just kind of the beast this year in SEC play. Like we've seen a lot of physical games so far, and if the home team were to get some of those extra whistles, that's just the way kind of it goes. And so I want to see Kentucky embrace that. Like this is going to be a physical game, and there may be some calls that you're not getting in this game that maybe if it was somewhere else you would be getting, and those kind of things. So you can't let that frustration sort of set in. And hopefully we won't have as many monitor reviews in this one as we had on Tuesday. But I think that's it. You got to keep Mississippi State off the glass, and that's what I want to see. Like if you're looking at it from Kentucky's angle here, you want to see Kentucky come out early on, bumping guys, like trying to, again, not let Mississippi State, who is a really good offensive team, who takes care of the ball, if you give them extra possessions, they're going to make you pay. And we've seen to this point, like their ability just to get some extra looks and all that. So, yeah, I mean, I think this is a pretty straightforward like matchup in terms of like what is the recipe for success for each team. Like for Kentucky, they got to defend, they got to keep Mississippi State off the glass, and I think for Mississippi State, it's just can you run guys off the 3-point line? Can you make Kentucky take tough shots in the paint? I think that's your recipe here. If you don't, you don't want to give Kobe Brea a chance to go 8 of 10 or whatever. So I think it's pretty straightforward in this matchup.
Yeah, let's talk Mississippi State offense for just a minute. They've got shooters outside in Hubbard and Harris. They've got big, rangy wing / post types in Matthews, Murphy, Melendez. They will back you down. They'll try to bully ball you into the paint. I think that puts like Amari Williams and maybe Brandon Garrison. I could see him having a bigger role in this spot just because they're going to need some size and length and beef to combat that inside, Max.
Yeah, there's a nice matchup here, and I'm gonna flip it on you real quick just because it's one I've got circled. Cam Matthews against Andrew Carr.
Yeah,
Cam Matthews against Andrew Carr is going to be massive for this game. I forget which game it was, but I like to say that Kentucky kind of in their tougher games, the Zags game definitely comes to mind, but down the stretch when they need a bucket, a lot of times they duck into Andrew Carr or they draw something up for him. If he is kind of neutralized by a Matthews, by a Melendez, where does Kentucky go for their tough baskets on the road? If you can't dump it into Carr, or if that's just not efficient throughout the night. I think that's a big angle. But on the flip side, Amari Williams, can he stay out of foul trouble? And if he can, how does that look against Keyshawn Murphy? Because Murphy's been so good. Amari Williams, one of the better defenders in the league. Does he kind of neutralize a little bit of what Murphy does? And how does that affect the Mississippi State offense? So I like the defensive matchups kind of on both sides.
Picks. And no one steal my thunder, because I got something to give you on this game.
Oh man, I think Lamont Butler is probably going to be matched up on Josh Hubbard. That's going to be a fantastic matchup. There's one thing that Mississippi State has shown us this year, and that is they do not need Josh Hubbard to be Mr. Do everything and hit 8 threes in a game like they did a lot last year. This is a Jan's defense that you saw him down the stretch there. Vanderbilt starts coming back, and the defense just clamps down. Claudell Harris, great defender. I'm going to go with Mississippi State here confidently. And so, Cats fans, I'm 0-3 on confidence picks so far. So this is probably a good thing for you. But I'm pretty confident here. Mississippi State at home. I think Matthews kind of shuts down Carr, and that takes out a big element of the Cats offense. I'll go State.
Kentucky has not won a true road game this year, but let's not forget they have won 2 big ones away from home. Duke on a neutral floor, and Gonzaga, even though it was not in Spokane, it was in Seattle. Everybody knows that's a Gonzaga home game. That said, I saw Mississippi State in person. Maybe it is recency bias. I feel like there's some things they do that don't show up in the stats. They are big, they are long, they are athletic, they close spaces quickly. They can really take you out of your half-court offense and get out on your shooters and make life difficult, or they can protect the paint if they decide to go that way and keep you from getting drives inside. I also think Kentucky probably needs to get out in transition. State's pretty good at getting back and maybe taking away long passes that you can get away with against less athletic teams. Give me State to win in the Hump.
Well, that's interesting. You two have decided to pick the team who Kentucky currently has an 18-game regular season winning streak against. They have won 18 in a row in the regular season against Mississippi State, dating all the way back to 2010. Kentucky has lost to Mississippi State once in that stretch, 74-73 in the SEC tournament in 2021. Kentucky has dominated this series. Wow. Now, to say that, there have been some really close games between these two teams. 91-89 last year, 71-68 a couple years ago, 82-74 overtime the year before that, 74-73, as I said, the NCAA or the SEC tournament 2021, the regular season game in 2021, 78-73 double overtime, 71-67 2 years before. These two seem to play just some pretty thrilling games. And so you guys are picking against history, but I'm doing something that was specifically requested of me by the Big Blue Nation.
Yep.
They are fed up with us all picking Kentucky because we saw what happened against Georgia. I'm picking Mississippi State to snap the streak here, and I'm doing it because Kentucky fans they're done. They don't want us to pick Kentucky anymore. So we're trying to do our job here, but at the same time, you'd be kidding yourselves if you're not looking at this Mississippi State team and thinking this one may feel a little bit different than the Mississippi State teams we've seen during this, this streak by Kentucky, which is just it's a ridiculous streak. It's hard to believe that is the number, but it's true. And so, give me Mississippi State at the Hump.
A Mississippi State win would most likely put them onto a projected 2 seed.
Wow.
So,
and deservedly so. Well,
yep.
This is the phenomenon known as the Southeastern 16 kiss of death.
It's what Kentucky fans want.
You can thank Blake Lovell. He knew he held all the power, and he did it to you anyway, Mississippi State. So blame him, not Max or I. Blake could have reversed that in a heartbeat, but he chose not to.
Yep.
So remember that. So when you want to direct your yelling,
big trend here. Everyone always looking to put the blame on somebody else, right? I'm not. Okay?
Buddy, that's the way the world works.
All right.
Anyway, you can come yell at Blake afterwards. Best way to do that is to enable your notifications. Subscribe to the channel. Do that first. Then enable your notifications so when we go live. In all seriousness, we have fun with this. We do go live usually Saturday nights after games when most of them are wrapped up or close to it. So we will be talking about it later. Can't wait to see it, honestly. It's a matchup of two very intriguing styles, and snapping the losing streak would be a big moment in state basketball history if that's what happens. If you're Kentucky, you get this one. That is yet another notch in your belt of a resume that is, in terms of quality wins, would be unmatched by very few teams in the country. Yeah. All right. For Max Barr, Blake Lovell, we're Southeastern 16. God bless you. Thanks for watching. We'll see you again soon.